Namaste, Jai Bharat. Bharat is undoubtedly one of the, perhaps the most ancient civilization of mankind. This may not be very seriously disputed. And Bharat had a system of education long before anyone could ever think of education per se. And Bharatiya system of education got established subsequently to an extent of having something like 7 lakhs of universities in modern terms. We used to call them as Gurukuls, smaller, medium, large, etc. And in no other civilization, in all likelihood, the education was so destabilized and destroyed by invasions from outside Bharat. Primarily the invasions came from, of course the initial invasion was from Alexander, but he comes from a tradition who loved knowledge and respect knowledge. So he did not, the Greeks were never instrumental in destroying Bharatiya knowledge tradition. Rather, they learned from here and went, and they did possibly respect the knowledge tradition in all likelihood. But the Muslim invasion subsequently, which took place in 7th century, 8th century period of Qasim, that was the first one. The invasion in that sense of the term destroyed everything. Look at Afghanistan of today. Look at Sindh. Actually, Sindh is an ideal place. The Sindhis who live in today's Sindh, which is in Pakistan, they have lost their hereditary and history and ancestry so completely that they have just become nothing in front of their ancestors. The same thing happened in wherever there had been invasions, and it also happened in Bharat. And the knowledge tradition of Bharat was greatly destroyed, primarily by the Islamic invaders. That's one thing. They don't understand what things are, and then naturally they go against or discard or demean what they don't understand. That's the usual problem with human beings, even now, even today. I can't even say, unfortunately, that's the way the things are in the world. So that's one thing. So, but then afterwards, after the with that the Mughal during the Mughal period, the scholars, the Hindu scholars, they left for a long time. They lived in jungles, maintaining their knowledge tradition. That's one great thing our ancestors did. They carried their knowledge with them. They carried their books instead of jewelry and gold and money, and went to jungles, and they kept the knowledge tradition alive to a great extent. That's why I'm able to speak to you today in this manner. Otherwise, I would have been speaking a different kind of logic and different kind of language, as it happened to Greece itself. Greeks were a great people, and they're still a great people. They lost their Hellenism totally with the conquest of Rome, and then with the conquest of Christianity. That also was conquest at that time, indeed. So this thing happened, and with the Europeans, so by the time Europeans came, the Bharatiya knowledge tradition, its glorious period had gone. It was under the shadow and darkness of the alien rule, but nonetheless it remained in very, very private quarters. But the British had effectively organized a system of education in Bharat, and not directly, but they influenced the scholars of Bharat, and the subsequent universities which are today in Bharat are taken after the British pattern of teaching, learning, university, research, courses, etc. Actually, if you go back to the ancient universities of Bharat, we had almost similar system of 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 research, that kind of a thing. We almost had the same thing. We had the same thing. But then for the Europeans, philosophy means one thing, and for Bharatiyas, darshana, though is equated with philosophy mostly, is a different thing. So there are a lot of category mistakes, in the sense that we use the same terminology to mean different things. In Bharatiya knowledge tradition, when we translate Sanskrit into English to speak of something of a European knowledge system, we use the same terms, same words, but the things are meant entirely different. Very complicating knowledge, very complicating comprehension, very complicating the process of comprehension, and very complicating the process of knowing. These things are there. And a student especially student of philosophy and allied knowledge. The allied knowledge means all other social knowledge system is connected to philosophy, including science, to philosophy in different patterns. So the concepts used here in Bharat becomes entirely different from the concept used in other places, Europe, because they had other knowledge tradition after Bharat. So this created a lot of confusion, and this created a brand of academic scholars who are neither here nor there, and we say in Hindi, na ghar ka na ghat ka. We are neither here nor there. See, I happened to meet a scholar from one of the French universities some time back, and he was amazed to know that we teach on a routine French philosophy also, Sartre also, some people like that, and many of us are fans of Foucault or things like that. So he used to know, why do people learn all those things? No, in a very close interaction. So we become a kind of neither here nor there. That is na ghar ka na ghat ka in Hindi. That's the situation with the academic scholars in Bharat, and that too. Now, our society is so large in Bharat, and different areas in Bharat. We have a vast, big society with a lot of multiplicity and plurality, and in different places the influences of our own dharma and swadharma varies. The influence of Hindu dharma varies, and wherever the influence of Hindu dharma is strong, we have more of Bharatiya knowledge tradition in their soul, I would say, that in their atma, in their knowledge. And wherever the influence of Bharatiya dharma is less, they go more for the European philosophy. Places like, for example, the northeast of Bharat, where Christianization took place a lot among the tribesmen of northeast, especially. Among the tribesmen, Christianization took place so strong, and almost 90% plus people got Christianized. And along with Christianization, there had been attempts from the autochthones of those societies to make a synthetic unity of their own their own Sanskrit, their own culture, and Christianity, which almost failed. Which reasonably failed. They could not make a synthetic unity of Christianity with their own culture. That has not been very successful. They think today's the tribesmen who became Christians think that they could make some adjustments. They are still tribes, but they can't be still tribes with the religions and religious categories operating in their consciousness. That problem is there. Now, in places like, for instance, Kerala, for example, which has a long trade route, and where their contact was with traders mostly, and with the materialistic influence, and with the influence of both Christianity and Islam and Marxism also, the materialism precipitates more, and there also the impact of Hindu dharma is much less as compared to other places. Many places in the two places I take. So these places you look at the academic philosophy. It's more towards the European kind of things, and nothing to do with Bharatiya. Whereas you take the instance of a universities in Gujarat or in many such places, Varanasi itself has got 5 or 6 universities together. The kind of research they do, the kind of studies they do, which will have which has the mechanism of understanding within their church is essentially Bharatiya. Very few people go for European kind of things. On the other hand, in these two places which I mentioned, the mechanism of search is alien to us. It's a Eurocentric kind of approach. We find PhD thesis keeps coming to us for examinations, and the search and the search for search for knowledge is entirely very different from what you see elsewhere. See, in such societies which I mentioned earlier, for example, if somebody wants to discuss about consciousness, they will start from Descartes or something like that. Whereas in other places where the impact of Hindu Dharma is more, they will speak about European understanding of mind, also the Bharatiya understanding of Atma, all those things. So, in many cases, our academic scholars becomes a synthetic unity, but sometimes there also becomes semblance of mistakes. Na ghar ka na ghat ka in Hindi means neither here nor there. This is a very difficult situation. But gradually, the focus with the new education policy, etc., should be shifting, not yet shifted, and the process is somewhere in some corners got initiated by individual scholars, not really by the government or structure. Individual scholars do it. For example, in classes where I used to be teaching, I used to talk to my colleagues, so we teach anything, but then we also try to present in Sanskrit and Hindi a Bharatiya Paripraksha, means it's a perspective. Bharatiya perspective is also there. If you have time, little extra in the classrooms, after covering the syllabus of something which is European way normally teaching, we should say that similar to that, these things were discussed in Bharatiya knowledge tradition by, for example, Madhvacharya, or say Kumarila or Prabhakara. We talk about theories of meaning, etc., for things like that. So this situation should remain in the contemporary time period, in the present time. We cannot ignore any society's, any thought system, because a thought system is a thought system. We cannot exclude anything. Now we have to understand the other person's thought system, but in the light of our own thought system. That is what I was trying to present. You understand, you study anything, but you should know where you are standing, not to critically evaluate. Critiquing is not the objective. Criticizing is not the objective, but trying to understand what other person says. At the same time, you should know what is your understanding. Then you can make a comparative study and understand things in whichever way your reason permits and your perception, understanding, analysis permits. And that's precisely what had been taught to Bharatiya Darshana schools, the people of philosophy in Bharat, by the Mimamsa philosophical system, Mimamsa Darshana. So we have got a complicated. Maybe that this area is one thing which calls for more discussions in with different perspective and understanding. Let's see if something comes again. We will talk about things. Till we meet next time. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Sri Ram.